Hey, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Gadi Schwartz coming to you from Washington, D.C., and here are the stories we're watching tonight. After giving hundreds of law enforcement officers a slip for nearly 2 weeks, escaped convict Danilo Cavalcante now has a rifle and a scope.
Cavalcante is considered armed and extremely dangerous.
And we're going to tell you how police say he got that gun and why they still think they're going to catch him soon. And bodycam footage has been released showing a Seattle police officer laughing after a deadly crash involving a patrol car driven by a fellow officer.
But she is dead.
And Republicans have talked for a long time about impeaching President Joe Biden. Today, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy officially got that ball rolling.
Today, I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
Then the U.S. government has taken Google to court in a case the Justice Department says is all about the future of the internet. And we're going to give you a glimpse of the first ever photo shoot at the edge of space.
Hey, Dad. I didn't tell you, but I took your lens. I brought it to space.
Danilo Cavalcante, now armed and extremely dangerous. The convicted killer is still on the run after an intense chase last night. Now, this all went down in a rural part of Chester County, Pennsylvania. Police were literally tracking his footprints until he ditched his prison shoes and stole someone's boots off their porch. Then, less than 2 hours later, he walked into someone's open garage, stole a rifle. The person who lived there shot at him, but police don't think Cavalcante was hit. He ditched his clothes at that house as well, and police now think he may be shirtless and wearing blue pants. So all of this went down pretty late last night, but that didn't stop police from sending out reverse 911 calls starting around 2 in the morning that sounded like this.
Cavalcante is armed with a weapon. Residents in the area are asked to continue to lock all external doors and windows, secure vehicles, and remain indoors.
That is a terrifying call to get in the middle of the night. MSNBC anchor Lindsay Reiser joins us from Pennsylvania. Lindsay, before we get started, Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro spoke just a few hours ago. He had some words for Cavalcante. Let's take a quick listen.
As for the individual himself, this is a moment where you got to realize the gig is almost up, and you'd be best to turn yourself in.
And that's what they've been saying this entire time, really. Lindsay, how close are police to finding Cavalcante?
Well, they certainly hope they're close. The governor today saying they believe they have him in this containment area, this 8-square-mile perimeter that they set up. And, Gadi, this started last night at around 8 p.m. There was a sighting believed to be Cavalcante. 2 hours later, a resident called police saying that Cavalcante, what police believe was a crime of opportunity, entered his open garage, but then saw a .22 caliber rifle. And instead of hiding in the garage, took the rifle and fled, and that homeowner shot several rounds at Cavalcante. Now, authorities say they have no reason to believe that he is injured, but they do say that he was always considered dangerous. Now it is confirmed that he is armed and he is desperate, Gadi.
Are they changing their tactics at all now that they know that he's got a weapon with a possible scope on it?
A scope, a flashlight. I mean, you have to consider what got us here. This is day 13 now. And remember that near the prison, there was that containment area near the Botanical Garden. He evaded that perimeter, stole a dairy van, and drove about 27 miles north in the area where we are. Ditched the van when it ran out of gas. It looks like he had tried approaching the homes of a couple of previous co-workers of his. And so they had moved into more of a containment phase using technology. They've got about 500 personnel on this. They're using canines, helicopters, but now we have that new perimeter today. Let's go ahead and listen to what state police said about whether their tactic has changed.
How does this change your tactics when it comes to the fact that he's now considered armed?
We have considered him dangerous right from the very start. It changes nothing. We have always considered him to be a risk. We just now absolutely know that he has a weapon.
And when asked, did something go wrong here that he's been able to evade capture, they said nothing has gone wrong. They've been able to find this needle in a haystack, and they say they believe they will be successful in the long run, Gadi.
And schools in that area are closed today because of this. It seems extremely nerve-wracking for the entire community. How are people doing out there?
And they're closed again tomorrow in the area. And so, you know, people are on high alert. They're on edge. They want this guy caught. Some people that I've talked to, they said they aren't too nervous. A lot of people said there's no police out here, so they're kind of used to being on their own. In fact, one said, you know, we're armed. But there still is that fear in the community among a lot of people who just want to go back to normalcy. Let's listen.
It's a very difficult, almost impossible task to find a lone person in this expansive area. There are a lot of windows in this house, and you know he apparently has a gun with a scope on it. So you know he could really be anywhere. It's not. My anxiety is relatively high right now.
And so police are telling people when you're home, lock your doors, keep your cars locked, don't leave anything out that could be useful to Cavalcante. Gadi, this is a difficult area to try and search, especially to find someone who doesn't want to be found. A lot of barns, it's wooded, it's dense. So they have their work cut out for them, but they will be out here throughout the night, Gadi.
Lindsay Reiser, thanks so much. And Seattle police have released new body cam footage from the night an officer hit and killed a woman with his police cruiser going over 60 miles an hour. Now, the woman, John Vida Candelua, a 23-year-old grad student, died at the hospital that night. She was crossing the road in the city's South Lake Union neighborhood back in January. The posted speed limit there is supposed to be 25 miles an hour. Now, this new body cam footage from another officer talking about that horrible crash a little after it happened, and a warning, what you're about to hear may be disturbing.
I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead.
That laughter there has gotten a lot of people's attention. The Seattle Police Department released the video after an employee raised concerns. The Department of Police Accountability says it's looking into it, and NBC News has reached out to the officers in the video and their union for comment, but we haven't heard back. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson. Steve, so what else is on this video, and why is it being released now?
Yeah, so it's being released by Seattle Police, as you mentioned, because of this whistleblower. This is really the only reason why we know anything about this. Apparently, according to a statement Seattle Police released, said that this was an employee just doing their job and in the course of the routine work heard this conversation. It's a one-sided conversation inside that police cruiser recorded on a body cam that was apparently the officer didn't know was on or left it on beyond the scope of the time that he was supposed to be conducting what he was doing on scene. The employee hears this, they flag it up the pole essentially to the chief's office, and then because it's now in the accountability office, it has to be released to the public, and that's how we're able to hear it. What's on it, Gadi? I mean, it sounds awful, right? It sounds like a blatant disregard for human life, for the badge, for sense and sensibility, for protecting and serving, which is the oath that police officers take. But that's just how it sounds. I want to play another section of it, which pertains to put a price on this woman's life after she was killed. Listen to this.
No, it's a regular person. Yeah, just write a check. Just, yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Now, it's important to say that this is one half of a two-sided conversation. We only hear one voice. He's talking to somebody else. This is a few seconds of a clip that could well be taken out of context. That is what the investigation is focused on. What is the context of what he's saying? Because there has been a statement released from this officer since this has all happened to say that no, what he was actually doing was mocking a conversation that would happen between two attorneys, sort of putting a price on her life, in essence showing the injustice that he believes would come from a situation this tragic. But this is his word. It is still early, and Gadi, it is still under investigation. Back to you.
Steve, what can you tell us about the officer that we hear talking there?
Yeah, this is Daniel Otterer. He is a drug recognition officer, so he's on scene there. This recording that you're hearing is a day after this has all happened. He arrives on scene to essentially drug test the officer who strikes this woman. And in doing so, sort of figures out in part of the investigation whether or not that officer was impaired. But he's also the vice president of the Seattle Police Officer Association Guild, which is one of the most powerful, essentially, police unions in all of the Pacific Northwest. He's on the other line, according to a document that was obtained by people looking into the investigation by a Michael Salon, who is the president of that guild. So these are two high-ranking people within a guild of officers representing thousands of police officers on the street. It's part of the reason why people are so worried about that department. Gadi?
Wait, so the person on the line, do you mean the person on the phone with him? We know who that was?
Yes, we do. It is Michael Salon. He's the president of the Seattle Police Officer Guild. We haven't gotten a statement. We've, of course, reached out to both parties. We're waiting on a response. And we don't know what was said on the other end of that line. I think that's so important to say as we're sort of digging into the context of all this and part of what will, of course, be under investigation as this continues. Gadi.
Incredibly important. Steve Patterson, thanks so much. And today, the Speaker of the House took a massive step towards a potential impeachment of President Biden. He said he is directing 3 Republican-led committees to start an inquiry into the Biden family finances. Their focus is on the president and his son, Hunter.
Today, I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Now, I do not make this decision lightly. And regardless of your party or who you voted for, these facts should concern all Americans.
Now, the White House has completely denied any allegations of wrongdoing. A spokesperson says that even Republican members of Congress don't see evidence to support impeachment. NBC News senior national reporter Sahil Kapoor has more on what's in store at Capitol Hill.
Hey, Gadi. Well, it's a very significant move for Speaker McCarthy, who has been facing pressure for months to open this impeachment inquiry into President Biden from his hard right flank in the House. Today, he decided he's going to move forward and authorize that impeachment inquiry. It will be led by Jim Jordan, James Comer, and Jason Smith, 3 Republican chairs of committees that have already been investigating Hunter Biden and looking for potential links to President Biden when it comes to wrongdoing. McCarthy talked a little bit about his decision, made allegations about abuse of power and corruption. He didn't quite have the evidence to substantiate them, described this as an inquiry to try to gather more facts. Let's play some of what McCarthy had to say.
I do not make this decision lightly. And regardless of your party or who you voted for, these facts should concern all Americans. The American people deserve to know that the public offices are not for sale.
Now, it's worth noting that this is a stark reversal for McCarthy from just 11 days ago when he told the conservative website Breitbart that he would not move unilaterally to open an impeachment inquiry. That's something of that, such importance should have to get a vote in the full House of Representatives to begin. Today, he announced that he will do it unilaterally. The 3 committee chairs that he tapped to put in charge of this inquiry issued statements supportive of it. Many Republicans are supportive of it, although a lot of them in the House have been very skeptical about going down this path, saying they simply do not have evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden. There has been no allegation yet of a high crime or misdemeanor. That we will see, if and when Republicans decide to introduce articles of impeachment. Democrats pushed back aggressively on this, with Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, calling it regrettable, reckless, and reprehensible. He described it as a political revenge tour with no basis in facts or the Constitution. Jerry Nadler, the former Judiciary Chairman on the Democratic side, who oversaw the 2 impeachments of President Trump, said that in 2019 they already had overwhelming evidence that the former president tried to extort the government of Ukraine, and in 2021 everyone saw with their own eyes what happened on January 6th. He says, by contrast, President Biden has done nothing wrong, and House Republicans, in his words, have not found a shred of evidence to suggest otherwise. Gadi?
NBC's Sahil Kapoor, thanks so much. And now for a quick question. How many times have you used Google today? Full disclosure, I've already lost count of how many times I've Googled something. It is something that we use literally so often it has become a verb. But here's the question. Did we all fall in love with Googling by choice or by lack of choice? That is one of the main arguments of the day at this massive case that could completely reshape big tech. The Department of Justice is suing the tech giant, accusing it of an illegal monopoly.
Essentially, every smartphone that people get has Google as the default search, and it's baked into everything. And that means we don't have a competitive advertising market, and Google is in this chokehold. By giving the market room for competitors to offer rival services, we're going to see new forms of innovation, better privacy for consumers, less ads.
And here to break it all down for us is NBC's legal analyst, Danny Savalos. Danny, it sounds like the DOJ is saying people don't have a choice when it comes to using Google as a search engine, which is weird because I just caught myself thinking, yeah, sure we do. You just have to Google Bing and use that, which I guess is the point, right? I mean, how's Google responding?
Google's response is not only does it face competition, but people have plenty of choice. They have options that range from searching on Amazon to other search engines, and that search engines have expanded so much that a search isn't limited to just on the internet. Here's what Google's chief counsel, Ken Walker, had to say about that.
On the competition side, we think there are a lot of different ways people are choosing to get information these days. And on the choice side, it's never been easier for people at home to be able to choose a different web search, however they want to do that, whether that's downloading a different app or changing the default setting in their browser.
And so the question really becomes, is when something is a default choice and you have to take those extra steps to find the option like Bing, if I want to Google Bing, I could probably get to Bing. Does that mean you are creating a monopoly if it's just so much easier to get to that default setting? In an era where we all have infinite choice, we're just lazy and we like defaults.
Spoken so truly. This is not the first time big tech is on trial, right? I mean, it does seem like we're getting into this day and age where everything is just a couple of choices away. But tell us about the last time big tech was on trial like this.
It's been 25 years. In the 90s, Microsoft was the target of the DOJ in an antitrust case then as well. And frankly, that was a much bigger deal back then with arguably bigger implications as the computer and the internet were in its nascent stages, at least compared to where we are now. But in a sense, that was slightly different because it was Microsoft that was the aperture. It was the screen through which you saw the rest of the world. And they chose what items and services you first saw on that screen. This is a little different in that Google controls some of the screens, but it doesn't have monopoly control over the screen, the aperture through which we see the world. Instead, they are entering into agreements with people like Apple and other iPhone or other smartphone manufacturers to be that default searcher. So is that a distinction without a difference? Maybe, but we'll see that Google will ultimately argue probably the same thing Microsoft did, which is people have plenty of choice. We have plenty of competitors. The DOJ is looking at this far too narrowly.
A big difference here that, those advertisement agreements are often billion-dollar agreements, right? I do want to ask, how do you see this playing out legally?
Well, you look back at the Microsoft case. In the Microsoft case, here's how reasonable minds could differ. The district court judge went one way, and that was for DOJ. And then on appeal, the appeals court appeared to go for Microsoft at the time. Ultimately, the parties reached a settlement. The Supreme Court declined to weigh in on it. So the answer, if by precedent, if that's any indicator, is that it is a giant judicial coin flip, and it could go either way. Part of the problem is educating a judge or a court or even a jury on antitrust law, especially with the added layer of technology. That part alone, it's so confusing that makes it even more of a coin flip, that the fact finder, whether it be a judge or a jury, is ultimately going to just say, I'm going to make a decision. Not entirely sure I understood what was going on here.
Justice all comes down to a tech-savvy judge. Pretty wild world we live in. Danny Savalos, thanks so much. And still to come, we broke some news about JFK's assassination last night when we heard from a Secret Service agent who's making us question exactly what happened that day. Next, we're going to hear what a ballistics specialist has to say about the so-called magic bullet and what this new account could mean to a crime scene investigator.
I didn't see anybody to secure the car. People were emerging on the car. I did not want this piece of evidence to disappear, and I slipped it into my pocket.
Hey there, welcome back. And here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. At least 2 cities in Massachusetts are under states of emergency because of dangerous flash flooding overnight. Between 6 and 9 inches of rain fell last night, leading to stuck cars, sinkholes, damaged buildings. Some schools are canceled again tomorrow. And Donald Trump's lawyers filed a motion to dismiss the charges against him in the Georgia election interference case. Now, this is the latest effort from his legal team as Fulton County's DA aims to put out 19 defendants on trial next month. And 5 former Memphis police officers are now facing federal charges in the beating death of Tyree Nichols. The new charges announced today come 9 months after the group violently beat Nichols during a traffic stop in January. They were also previously charged with second-degree murder. And the CDC is recommending everyone 6 months and older get the updated COVID booster. The CDC's director signed off on this recommendation earlier, which means the booster could be available within 24 hours, or 48 hours, rather. The updated booster is rolling out as we see a late summer uptick in COVID cases. And it turns out a key ingredient in the common decongestants like Sudafed, Vicks, Benadryl, well, it doesn't actually relieve your stuffy nose. That is according to the FDA and a panel who found that when you take these pills instead of using nasal sprays, only a very small amount of the drug actually reaches your nose. The FDA will now decide whether to revoke the drugs over-the-counter designation. And now to new developments in the historic Kennedy assassination. We covered it in depth yesterday with a former Secret Service agent who was just feet away from President Kennedy the day he was assassinated. And now he's revealing new details about that bullet he found on the convertible that day. Here's what he told us yesterday. This bullet has become the focal point of so much history. When you found that bullet, was it lodged in a cushion? How would you describe its condition when you found it?
It was perfect condition. It was not buried or sunken in a seam. It was just lying where the seam on the back of the seat meets the middle of the trunk. And that's where they would have attached the bubble top if they had or were putting it on.
And you got a good look at it. Did it have any blood or any sort of matter on it?
I didn't notice any blood. It was like everybody wrote or says, it was a pristine bullet.
Now, this new revelation has raised a lot of questions about whether there was more than one shooter and just the nature of the bullet. But this is not the first time that's happening about the bullets involved in Kennedy's assassination. They have been the source of so much wonder and really the source of a lot of conspiracy theories. So many ballistic specialists have re-examined the shooting from all angles. One of them joins us now, forensic scientist and shooting reconstructionist, Mike Haig. Mike, thanks so much for being with us. What do you make of Paul's latest revelations and the fact that he says he found this near pristine bullet, as he describes it, in the car and actually behind the seat of JFK?
Yeah, any piece of this puzzle is worth evaluation. I mean, from the scientific perspective, you always have to be open to new pieces of that puzzle. Now, unfortunately, this is not as critical as I think a lot of people are making it out to be on several levels. Number one, it's after the fact. It's the idea that this projectile was found laying in the car. It wasn't embedded in something like I've seen a couple of reports say. It was just laying along the seam at the top of the back of the limousine where the bubble attaches. From the crime scene standpoint, from the shooting incident reconstruction standpoint, if this bullet had actually been driven into an area of the vehicle, then it would have a lot more value as far as an understanding of where that bullet came from. But I tell you, from working crime scenes for many, many years, having evaluated shooting incidents and scenes from all over the country and internationally, the crime scene people out there that are actually doing this job, that actually have the practical knowledge in what we do and going to shooting scenes, are saying, big deal, honestly, in many ways. Bullets, when they decelerate and come to very low velocities, can go a wide variety of places without even leaving marks if they're slow enough. And in cases like that, it's location. Where the agent is saying he found it isn't, again, as critical as if it had been driven into something. Now, this was 1963, so what he did, I wouldn't say was particularly surprising for the era. If this had happened today and somebody had done something like this, that would be a complete breach of every crime scene protocol that is out there at this point. But really, this is not that big of a deal, quite frankly. It's not a linchpin. It doesn't really change anything. It's described as a pristine bullet. I don't like it when people call it a magic bullet, because it's not that. It's near pristine, but actually there's a lot of story to this bullet that we could talk about as well, as far as its deformation, its damage, how it appears. But quite frankly, while this is interesting, it's another piece of the history books, it doesn't change anything from the physical evidence standpoint.
Now, if it was found behind him, there are some new theories that seem to be percolating that suggest that the bullet went into his back, and instead of exiting through his neck, which is what's believed to have happened, and that was hidden by possibly like a tracheotomy, it bounced back out of the entry wound and then maybe landed on the back. What do you make of that theory?
I find that to be kind of silly. Now, I know there's complications with the autopsy. All of us would have preferred that we had a more detailed, thorough, professional autopsy of our president at the time. That would have been very helpful. It would have resolved a lot of issues that we're dealing with. How many years later, 60 years later, because of the lack of thoroughness of that autopsy. However, it's not just about the surface. It's not just about the tracheotomy. I mean, the pathologist did document a wound path through the neck. We have a general penetration depth through the neck, about 6 inches or so of just soft tissue. The idea that it struck his back and bounced off is implausible, silly.
Mike, do you still think that that bullet may have passed through his back, out his neck, into the governor, and then somehow wound up at the back of the convertible? Or do you think that the bullet that was found may have been, I don't know, the third shot?
Yeah, let's take a sort of a sequential or step view through this trajectory. The key factors that people that don't really do what crime scene investigators and shooting incident reconstructionists do fail to recognize some very critical factors. Number one, the hole into the back of the president's back is nice and round. It's very small. It is absolutely consistent with an entry of a stable rifle bullet. Now, these bullets, they're actually fairly unique. The 6.5 Carcano is very stable in tissue until it comes back out into the air, which is why this exit in the neck was also a very small hole, but then it goes unstable. And here's the critical factor. The re-entry into Connolly is an irregular hole. Bob Frazier from the FBI, who did the examination way back when, clearly documented this. The photographs show it. There's got to be a reason why the entry into Connolly's back is unstable. The only correct answer is the bullet was unstable. And given the physical evidence that we have to look at, the only realistic scenario is it's unstable because it had previously gone through our president's neck. So look at those pieces of the puzzle, those physical facts. The idea that these bullets then lose speed, of course, going through things, not much going through the neck while nose forward, only about 150 feet per second off its impact velocity. But going sideways into Connolly, they actually lose quite a bit of velocity. So coming out, going through rib isn't much of a challenge. Coming out, striking the wrist and the knee, once it's that slow, where a bullet like that goes, I know the crime scene investigators out there in the world are nodding their heads with me. Where a bullet goes after that, when it's that slow, can be very unpredictable, and it wouldn't leave much of a trace. So the fact that it may have bounced back in all the chaos on the ride to Parkland Hospital doesn't surprise me a bit. Unless you actually have an impact with some depth to it, where the bullet is actually penetrating, it's not as much value as I think a lot of people are attributing to it. As far as its location. Of course, the bullet was identified by the FBI laboratory by forensic fireman tool mark analysis to the rifle found in the Texas School Book Depository. That's critical, but its location doesn't really change this picture that much.
So this hasn't changed your mind about what happened?
Look, I am completely open to the idea of if you bring me new physical evidence, not a witness statement, not something else. You bring me new physical evidence that would disagree with the idea that the first shot is likely the one to miss, that we have no good physical evidence for. The second shot fired from the Texas School Book Depository perforated the president's neck, perforated Governor Connolly's torso, and made small minor damage to the wrist and leg. And the third shot was the one that hit his head, and because of skull, behaved in a very different wound ballistic manner. It behaved more like an expanding bullet, as opposed to the non-expanding bullet that these are from the factory. If you can bring me any piece of physical evidence that would refute that, I'm good to reevaluate. But there is nothing physical evidence-wise that goes against the idea that the Warren Commission's findings were basically correct.
Mike, we really appreciate your perspective. Thanks so much for joining us.
You bet.
And coming up, the photo shoot to top all photo shoots. Later this hour, we're going to show you the very first one from the edge of space. But first, I want to show you this. Newly released surveillance footage shows TSA officers going through travelers' bags and allegedly pocketing their cash. It happened in July during a routine security screening at the Miami International Airport. Now, police say the agents were caught on camera stealing up to $600 of the passengers' money. They both face charges of grand theft. A TSA spokesperson said the agency has aggressively investigated the allegations and is working closely with Miami police. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. And here are some of the stories that are happening out west that we're following tonight. In Denver, police are investigating the deaths of two people found on a well-known hiking trail. Police say both people were found shot to death on the South Platte River Trail. A woman was found Wednesday and a man was discovered this past Saturday. Police say they think both were homeless and the shootings could be connected. At the Grand Canyon, a man from Virginia died while trying to hike from the South Rim to the North Rim in a single day. Now, park officials say the 55-year-old man died Saturday. An emergency call came in that afternoon saying he was in distress, became unresponsive during his hike. Both bystanders and park rangers were unable to resuscitate him. And in Irvine, California, police successfully saved a puppy that possibly overdosed on fentanyl. Now, police think the pit bull pup got into his owner's supply of the drug. Now, officers were able to revive the puppy with a dose of Narcan. They say the dog's owners were arrested and they could face drug possession and animal cruelty charges. And nowadays, using rideshare services like Uber or Lyft is second nature, but there's still that element of danger when getting into a car driven by a stranger, especially for women. Lyft is now unveiling a new feature that could help, and NBC's Savannah Sellers got an exclusive interview with Lyft CEO to learn more about the new safety features they're starting to roll out.
So millions of people across the country and across the world use rideshare services every single day to get from point A to point B. Well, now Lyft is rolling out a new feature to cater to women and non-binary drivers and riders. I sat down exclusively with Lyft's new CEO, David Risher, to learn all about Lyft's latest feature and why he thinks it will help get more women behind the wheel. Take a look.
Rideshare app Lyft is rolling out a brand new feature, Women Plus Connect, in 5 cities from Chicago to San Diego, which will give women Lyft users the option to request a driver or passenger of the same gender.
Maybe you're in a new city, maybe it's late at night, maybe you've had a couple drinks, whatever it might be. And just for your own peace of mind, the ability to choose a woman driver might be exactly the thing that allows you to say, you know what? Yeah, this really is making my life better.
If you're in one of the 5 cities where Women Plus Connect is launching, drivers and riders who have selected woman or non-binary as their gender can open the updated app and will be prompted with an option to enable the new feature.
It's literally, a toggle that you can always turn on or off. Just like
Lyft CEO David Risher hopes to provide that feeling of comfort and safety, not just for the riders, but the drivers too. Lyft says just 23% of its drivers are women. Risher hopes to increase that number.
Half the population, roughly, are women. But today, some segment of those women riders are saying, I don't always feel comfortable in your car. That's bad for us. We want the opposite.
That comfort could be key given a persistent issue facing rideshare apps. Reports of sexual harassment and assault perpetrated by both riders and drivers. Competing service Uber reported over 3,800 incidents in 2019 and 2020, while Lyft said it had over 4,000 between 2017 and 2019.
Is this an acknowledgement of that problem? Is this meant to help fix that, this new feature?
I mean, I think it's an acknowledgement of the world we live in, that sexual assaults happen. unacceptable, terrible. Even one is unacceptable. We have to create an environment where it's going to happen less and less and less and less.
Single mom Mimi Fan has been driving for Lyft for over a decade. She says the feature makes her feel more comfortable requesting passengers at different times of day and in different areas.
And for me as a female driver, I would feel just an extra layer of confidence where, you know, I can just really focus on, you know, the ride itself.
Do you think this could make more women want to drive for Lyft if they know that they have that power about who's getting into their car?
Absolutely.
So if you live in San Diego, San Jose, San Francisco, Chicago, or Phoenix, you'll be able to opt in to Women Plus Connect starting tomorrow right in your app. Lyft tells us a nationwide rollout is coming soon, and Uber offers a similar feature, but just internationally. In addition to just more women drivers on the road, Risher stresses this is also a viable and flexible way to earn an income that he hopes more women will take advantage of.
Savannah Sellers, thanks so much. And up next, a catastrophic dam collapse in Libya. And tonight, thousands of people are feared dead or missing. We've got the latest details when we come back. Hey there, welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world in 80 seconds. The death toll after the earthquake in Morocco is now close to 3,000 people. Survivors say they haven't got enough help from the government, and many people are sleeping outside either because their homes were destroyed or because they're worried about their damaged homes collapsing. North Korean President Kim Jong-un is officially in Russia to meet with President Vladimir Putin. We don't know exactly when or where they're going to be talking, but when it comes to what they're talking about, the U.S. says they are against any possible arms deal between those two countries, which would help Russia with their invasion of Ukraine. And the Israeli Supreme Court is weighing a decision on just how much power it should have. The case is focusing on a law passed by Parliament there this summer, which is meant to limit the power of its Supreme Court. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's focus on overhauling the judicial system has divided the country for months. Some say it gives power back to elected leaders, and others say it takes away one of the few remaining checks and balances. And a flood of red wine rushed through a small Portuguese town this weekend. The wine was being stored at a local distillery. You can see it right there when two huge storage tanks burst, spilling nearly 600,000 gallons into the streets. The distillery is apologizing for the flood. And in Libya, as many as 10,000 people are missing or feared dead after a historic storm led to devastating flooding across the eastern part of the country. Entire neighborhoods have been swept away, and the worst damage is in the city of Derna, where at least 2,300 people have been confirmed dead. The disaster intensified when two dams also burst, and as of now, at least 20,000 people have been displaced and left without homes. NBC's Josh Letterman has more.
Along Libya's Mediterranean coast, utter devastation in a war-racked region unprepared to respond. Severe flooding leaving in its wake an unthinkable loss of life. And with some 10,000 people missing, fears the death toll will grow far higher. In Derna, in eastern Libya, bodies strewn on the streets by the dozens, covered by blankets. Cars piled on top of each other. Residents and aid workers navigating knee-deep, muddy water, and entire neighborhoods that no longer exist. Authorities estimating a quarter of Derna was wiped out.
What we can confirm now that thousands of people have lost their lives, thousands of people have lost their homes, and thousands of families are stranded or lost.
In Derna, the hardest hit area, the health system has collapsed. Ambulance officials say what functioning hospitals remain are now sorting grounds for the bodies arriving by the hundreds. The culprit, Mediterranean storm Daniel, which struck on Sunday, bursting at least two dams on the Wadi Derna, a river that runs right through the city of some 90,000 people. The waves of water swept buildings and people right into the Mediterranean Sea, a disaster of proportions that would be impossible for any country to deal with in the best of times. But these are not the best of times in Libya, an oil-rich North African country that's been torn apart by civil conflict and extremism for more than a decade, since longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi was ousted in a NATO-backed uprising in 2011 and then killed. In the year since, two rival governments, each backed by their own militias, have fought for control of territory, leaving local infrastructure neglected and crumbling, ripe conditions for humanitarian disaster.
The challenges are ranging between access to basic health facilities or health services, shelter and shelter management, food and non-food items, first aid, psychosocial support, and restoring family links as well.
Libya's internationally backed government, based in the western city of Tripoli, doesn't control Derna, but is sending in help and now imploring the rest of the world to do the same.
Such a staggering amount of devastation. Josh Letterman, thanks so much. And before we go, it is time for the future of everything. Real quick, think of the coolest picture you've ever taken, because the photographer you're about to meet is going to put us all to shame. He just wrapped up the very first photo shoot at the edge of space in one of the most secretive spacecraft we have. He's here to tell us all about it. Coming up next. Tonight on The Future of Everything, at this point, it's a yearly tradition. Apple unveiling its latest toys, and then the world takes notice. It has been happening for decades now. From the nightly news archives from tonight, imagine the year is 1984, and you see this.
The Macintosh is small and friendly, almost cute for a computer, and people who see it get excited.
Saying it has a 9-inch screen and weighs about 20 pounds.
Apple built a new factory that can make 500,000 Macintoshes a year. The company's betting its future that the design team who've signed the inside of the Macintosh cover has built a machine that can keep the company and the legend intact.
So what did we get today from Cupertino? A slightly smaller iPhone 15 with universal charging. That's the big headline for most people today, universal charging. And Jake Ward has more.
Small changes with big effects in Cupertino. Apple unveiling new products at the company's annual launch event in California, including the iPhone 15. But the biggest change, charging ports. Apple switching out its unique lightning cable for the USB-C used by, well, pretty much everyone else.
And now Apple is finally catching up and saying, okay, this world we all want to live in, where I just have one cable and a thing that plugs into the wall and it charges every single thing in my suitcase. Like, how is that not the world we live in? It so obviously should be.
It's in part because the EU has made USB-C mandatory.
And they're being forced by the EU to do it, and they have said pretty loudly that they don't like being forced to do things. But I think ultimately we would have gotten here sometime in the next couple of years.
Meanwhile, Apple is making more changes behind the scenes, forging ties with companies in Vietnam and India, seemingly diversifying their supply chain as political tensions with China increase. Now, as for those lightning cables,
the old lightning adapters are going to be around for a long time. There's going to be a need for those for many, many years to come.
Don't throw them away. Copper and silver in the charging cables are valuable and save huge resources when you reuse them, according to Adam Shine, the president of electronics recycling company SunCam.
The reality is recycled copper uses 85% less energy than creating new copper. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Jake Ward, thanks so much. Now to a photographer who recently conducted the first ever photo shoot at the edge of space in a U-2 spy plane. The flight took 8 years of planning and 6 months of training. And here's just some of that journey. Take a look.
Let's go to a stack real fast, and from there we'll get the lighting scenario for this. Looks like we're going to be shooting to the north, dude. Can't wait to get on the ground, man. My is hurting so bad. We get to have a beer after this, right? Hey, Dad. I didn't tell you, but I took your lens. I brought it to space. I just want to say thank you for your support.
And joining us now is the photographer behind the lens of those incredible images, Blair Bunting. Welcome. Dude, I got to say, this feels like the part of The Mandalorian where we get to see behind the mask. There you are without the helmet. I mean, I've got goosebumps. I have so many questions, from the gloves on the camera to the training, but I got to start with your dad. You mentioned your dad there.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that special connection and that moment that you felt up there from the beginning.
Oh, that was one of those things that ever since the very beginning of the entire project, it was one of those, I wanted to get a photo shoot where we created images that people would love, but I've always wanted some kind of way to express to my dad what his and my mom's support has actually meant, because we grew up, they're both teachers, and so we didn't have a lot. But yet, when I asked if I could get a camera to do a photo class in high school, he said, "Here's my camera, and if you ever need anything, I'm here for you." And so it just felt appropriate that, a big project like this, I need to tell him what that meant. And so that's why we did that.
Incredible. I'm here for you. Spoken like a true teacher, the most noble of professions. Yep.
Yes.
I got to say, this was obviously no ordinary photo shoot. Can you talk about how you prepared both for the shoot and then going up into near space?
It's kind of, you prepare. Oh, there's a lot of different ways. I was fortunate to have a friend who is an astronaut, Joe Edwards, who flew Space Shuttle Endeavour, and he kind of walked me through a workflow of how to actually get up there and work with the spacesuit. But our biggest challenge was the spacesuit itself. They're all sewn so that your arms will go down if you need to eject in case there's a decompression. And that inhibits you, or it makes it very hard to lift a camera. So I had to work against that. And then the other thing I had to work against was I couldn't get my heart rate or respiration up or get excited, because that would actually lead to icing over the entire canopy. So no photo shoot. It was a challenge.
Wait, hold on. So they're like, we're going to take you to the edge of space, but don't get too excited?
Yes. Well, you can go up there. If you get too excited, the photo shoot's off. So, yeah, that was kind of, oh man, we took some measures to make sure that my heart and my breathing were slow before getting in the suit. But once you get up there, you just kind of have to go into work mode. And then at the very end, I let myself process it and take it in. And I would let out one large sigh, and immediately ice just started forming everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're running out of time here, but if you had to describe that experience for the rest of us down here on Earth in one word, maybe two, what would they be?
Humbling. It's humbling.
Humbling. That is a perfect description. Yeah. Blair Bunting, I can't wait to see more of your pictures. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And that does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you again tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.